Discover the incredible daily habit that transformed 1 million lives. Heal your body mind now. In the heart of Maplewood, as cornfields danced under a wide blue sky, Sarah felt the weight of the world pressing down on her. The early morning sun cast a golden hue over her modest home, but inside, shadows loomed large. Alone with her thoughts, she tried to muster the strength to face another day, another round of bills, another fight with her teens. Mark and Emily. Each day was a battle. As the clock ticked away, she scrambled to juggle her job at the local retail store and the needs of her growing teenagers. They were good kids, but the tensions often flared, snapping over chores or hurt feelings disguised as eye rolls. Every argument peeled back a layer of the frayed connection they once had. Was it too late to mend the gaps? Then, one night, Sarah came across a digital community of veterans discussing mindfulness and mental wellness. The words struck a chord in her restless heart. Daily practice, they preached. Healing is within reach. As she read testimonials of lives transformed, the concept of meditation and journaling felt like a flickering flame in a sea of darkness. She decided to try it. Sitting cross-legged on the floor with her old journal, she poured her heart onto the pages. It felt divine, a release of pent-up pressure. She found moments of clarity amidst the chaos, but when she excitedly shared her experience with Mark and Emily, their skeptical eyebrows arched. "Mom, that's just weird. Shouldn't we be focusing on real stuff?" They say. The words stung. Determined to bring the family together, she envisioned a small renovation, a cozy nook for meditation and prayer. "Let us create something special," she proposed, voice tinged with hope. Yet, contrary winds blew. An unexpected bill arrived, rain flooded their yard, and work schedules became frantic. Each setback wore on Sarah and her teenagers, eroding their resolve. That night, voices rose during a family meeting. Sarah's frustration spilled over, exploding in a torrent of pent-up emotions. As they yelled, the cracks that had formed began to widen. It felt as if the walls were crumbling around them, leaving Sarah feeling abandoned and helpless in a swirling storm of family discord. Before the uproar could drown them entirely, the bright glow of Maplewood Heroes Day crept in. The town gathered at the park to honor those who served, sharing laughter and tears, rekindling bonds of support. Caught in the emotions, Sarah grasped Mark's hand, feeling the warmth, and shared a fleeting glance of understanding with Emily. In that moment, the love amidst their struggles surfaced. They caught a glimpse of possibility beyond the anger. But just as quickly, shadows of doubt crept back in. Would Sarah ever bridge the chasm between her dreams and their needs? Could they truly begin anew, mending the fabric of their fractured family? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the community's warmth still lingering, Sarah sensed change was brewing. She had a desire to dig deeper, to weave her aspirations with Mark's needs and Emily's dreams. Yet doubt made its home in her heart, agitating her gut. As they prepared to step into this uncertain future together, one thing remained clear: they weren't just a family fighting against life's trials, they were a family, bound by the invisible thread of hope, ready to explore new paths. What were their next steps? Would they seize this glimmer and run with it? The morning after Maplewood Heroes Day, sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating a half-eaten breakfast scattered with the remnants of yesterday's festivity. The air was thick with the familiar scent of burnt toast, a reminder of rushing mornings. Sarah sat at the table, her fingers tapping nervously against the ceramic mug filled with lukewarm coffee. She had awakened with a newfound fire, a spark ignited by the shared moments from the previous day. Mark and Emily shuffled into the kitchen, their faces still etched with sleep. The teenage grumbles filled the air, but Sarah couldn't ignore the warmth she had felt in their hands, the love hidden beneath the usual teenage discontent. She resolved to keep that ember alive, even if it flickered. "Hey guys," she ventured, enthusiasm bubbling just below the surface. "How about we start the day with something different?" Both teens exchanged glances, cautious yet intrigued. "What do you mean?" Mark asked, pouring his cereal with a hint of skepticism. I was thinking of family practice. Something like mindfulness. It doesn't have to be weird, just a few minutes to focus and breathe together. Sarah smiled, hoping to draw them in. Emily lifted an eyebrow. You mean like meditation stuff? Can't we just get on with our day? Just hear me out, Sarah urged, a bit more forcefully than intended. It could be a way to connect. We can make it ours. A family thing? There was silence, the kind that stretches moments into eternity. Then, with a reluctant nod, Mark said, "Okay, I'm in as long as it's not too cheesy." "Cheesy or not, it's worth a shot," Emily chimed in, her tone more playful than dismissive. With their agreement hanging in the air, Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. Today could be a starting point, the beginning of something positive. They decided to practice in the backyard. The sun filtered through the trees, creating patterns on the grass. It was tranquil, peaceful compared to their usual chaos. They set out a blanket, the three of them sitting cross-legged, the morning breeze caressing their cheeks. "Let us just try focusing on our breaths," Sarah instructed, feeling her heart race. Could this truly be the breakthrough they needed? Inhale and exhale. For a few minutes, it felt awkward. Mark fidgeted, and Emily struggled to suppress laughter. But as Sarah patiently guided them through their breathing, something began to shift. As moments passed, the air felt lighter. The laughter transformed into quietness. With each breath in and out, the current of connection grew stronger between them. Sarah could sense it, an invisible thread pulling them together, binding past resentment to a future of greater understanding. When they finished, the expressions on their faces surprised her. Mark looked contemplative while Emily smiled softly, a hint of pride shining through. They had taken a step, albeit small, toward the unity they'd lost. "What do we do next?" Mark asked, his voice almost childish, but with sincerity. "Let us make this a routine," Sarah replied, excitement bubbling within her. "We can add our own touches, themes, maybe a nighttime ritual." Emily smiled wider at the thought. "We could even create a family goals log, write it down, and share it during our sessions." Sarah's heart soared. They were brainstorming, creating a shared vision. However, just as they were reveling in their newfound bond, a distant thunder rumbled, reminding Sarah of the storm outside. The shadows of doubt crept back in. Could they maintain this momentum? Was it too overwhelming to keep up? As they packed their blanket, ready to face the day ahead, Sarah felt something new. Was it hope? Or maybe just the creeping joy of a family united in purpose. With renewed spirits, they headed inside, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty hanging in the air. Old patterns die hard, and the path ahead was uncertain. What if today was just a fluke? What if they couldn't sustain this connection? She glanced back at her children, determination swirling in her chest. Today was just a beginning, but could they see it through? The real test awaited, and deep down, Sarah wondered if they had the strength to face it together. The day moved fast, colors dripping into dusk as the hours disappeared. It was the kind of day that breezed by, a blur of laughter and the occasional bickering that felt less sharp, like a distant fog. After their morning experiment, the three of them settled back into their routines, but Sarah wasn't ready to let go of the small spark they'd kindled. Dinner was an unremarkable affair. Emily and Mark both had earbuds in, tuning into their playlists, even as they sat side by side at the table. Sarah served spaghetti, trying her best to catch snippets of conversation as she kept the platters full. But every once in a while, she could feel the ebb and flow of connection from earlier. It reminded her of the morning. It was there, almost tangible. "Did you guys see that new movie coming out this weekend?" she asked, attempting to draw them into something unplanned. Mark pulled one earbud out. "Mom, we're not really into rom-coms. It's a superhero film." "And it has that actor you love, Mark," she insisted, her voice rising more than she intended. "Yeah, but it's not exactly our family's vibe," Emily replied. She twirled a strand of pasta around her fork with a bored expression. "We used to go see movies together," Sarah implored. "Before everything became so complicated." Silence stretched across the table. Mark's expression turned thoughtful, while Emily's eyes suddenly filled with something different, maybe understanding. Maybe we could give it a shot, Mark murmured, breaking the tension. Like a family night? Or we could do a game night with it, Emily added quickly, her tone softer. That might be better than just sitting in a theater. Hope fluttered again in Sarah's chest. That sounds great. We could cook some fun snacks and make a whole evening out of it. As they tossed around ideas, she noted how their faces lit up in ways she hadn't seen in ages. It was as if the movie night was more than just a simple plan, it symbolized an evolving bond, a way forward forged in shared laughter and banter. Family was slowly being refashioned, piece by piece. But then, as evening drifted into night, a sudden thought clouded her joy. Would they actually follow through? Buried in the warmth of the moment was a fear that stalked her. So many good intentions had collapsed under the weight of reality before. When the dishes were finally cleared, Sarah suggested they gather around the living room, where the couch's comfort could cradle their weariness. She felt a twinge of exhilaration at the idea of cozying up together. Tonight, let us kick off our family goals log, she pointed out, her excitement almost bubbling over. What do we want to achieve together? Emily rolled her eyes. Can it be something fun? Like, we will conquer the art of pizza making by Friday. Mark laughed. I like that one. And maybe, learn the moves to that dance challenge everyone's doing. Their laughter rippled through the room, warming Sarah with a deeper sense of connection. This was what she had fought for, the light-hearted ease of them enjoying each other's company. Yet, shadows lurked at the corner of her mind. Change wasn't as simple as just declaring commitments or goals. A part of her wanted to seize the moment, to tell them boldly how proud she was of them. But what if with honesty came vulnerability? What if it opened wounds still raw? As they perched on the edge of their new adventure, Sarah clenched her hands together, masking her uncertainty with a smile. Let us put these ideas down. They began jotting down goals, but the laughter and smiles grew too serious too quickly. The atmosphere shifted, a veil of expectation weighing on the air. Wait, Mark suddenly said, his voice shifting to something less playful, what if we don't succeed? Yeah, Emily chimed in, her bravado faltering. What if we can't even keep it up? As their eyes shifted to her, Sarah felt a wave of emotions crash over her, an urge to reassure them and the realization that the pressure was on their shoulders as much as hers. They were all navigating this together, yet each found themselves clinging to skepticism. Could they truly believe in families not defined by their struggles but rather by their efforts to rise above? Before she could respond, the distant thunder rumbled again, a reminder of the storm beyond the walls, a storm far more encompassing than the ones brewing in their hearts. But even as the strength of their connections wavered, Sarah knew that the real journey had just begun. Would they take the next step? Or would the weight of their pasts hold them back? All of this felt like a precipice about to tip, the air electric with uncertainty. And as Sarah took a deep breath, she realized they were standing on the edge, ready to leap together into the unknown. The night deepened around them, but the light in the living room cast shadows on their faces, highlighting the uncertainty lingering in the atmosphere. Sarah could sense it, the fabric of their new hopes was woven with threads of past disappointments. She swallowed hard, her voice soft but steady. It's okay to be scared, she said, choosing her words carefully. But remember, we won't know unless we try. Mark shifted his weight on the couch and crossed his arms. But what if we try and fail? It's just easier to stay quiet and not do anything. Emily nodded, biting her lip as if the statement mirrored her own fear. Yeah, I don't want another thing to go wrong. What's the point? Sarah's heart raced. She needed to break through that wall, to alleviate their worry. There's no such thing as failing if we learn from it. Think of it as an adventure. We all make mistakes, but those moments can be really beautiful if we find the strength to laugh at ourselves. As she spoke, a flicker of understanding sparked in their eyes. The thought of all those family games gone awry, where laughter echoed louder than laughter, began to soften their tense expressions. She could see their hearts opening just a bit. Like that time when we made pancakes and they turned into, well, blobs? Mark chuckled, recalling the culinary disaster. And we ended up having a pancake fight, Emily added, her grin returning. Yes. Exactly. Sarah exclaimed, encouraged by the enthusiasm growing between them. No matter what happens, it's about being together and making memories. A thunderclap erupted outside, shaking the windows and forcing them to jump. Sarah watched as the light in the room mirrored the bolts of lightning outside. For a moment, fear gripped her heart again. What if we do end up arguing? What if it gets messy? Mark asked, biting his nails in a familiar gesture of anxiousness. Then we just deal with it, Sarah replied, her voice firm yet filled with warmth. Let us promise to communicate. That's part of our goal too, understanding each other. Silence settled in like a thick fog as they pondered her words. Mark broke the silence, a tentative smile forming. All right, I guess we could view failure as our not-so-secret ingredient for success. Yes. Exactly. Sarah felt a rush of pride. And if we really commit, we might find ourselves getting closer in ways we haven't before. Suddenly, Emily shot up from the couch, her expression brightening. Let us write down challenge ourselves to mess up. That'll remind us to be okay with mistakes. Laughter erupted among them again, and Sarah felt the tension begin to melt away. Ideas spilled out like popcorn, light and energetic, some silly, some heartfelt, each noted down for their family goals. Log.as the list grew, they decorated it with doodles, shared inside jokes, and created a tapestry of intentions that filled the room with an electrifying energy. The initial doubt seemed to fade, but just when Sarah felt assured, a hush fell over them again. The laughter quieted, and the reality of their endeavors loomed large once more. What happens if we don't really achieve what we set out to do? Mark whispered, the vulnerability creeping back. The question lingered, thick with gravity. Feeling the weight of their aspirations and fears, Sarah considered her response. If we don't achieve every goal, we still have each other. That's the point of it all, right? Love, connection, and being a family no matter what. But before Mark or Emily could reply, another thunderous boom jolted them from their thoughts. This time, it felt oddly different, a realization that echoed in Sarah's mind. Despite the storm outside, inside, they had found a spark. And just like that, everything felt poised on the edge again, a shift trembling through the air. They were on the verge of something grand, yet fragile. Would they weather the storm together, or would the cracks in their conversations pull them apart? With that thought hanging, Sarah's heart raced once more, filled with hope and trepidation, as she took in the solemn faces of her children. And in that charged silence, another rumble of thunder bellowed, louder and closer, an ominous reminder that only the future could tell if they would emerge from this storm stronger or still searching for their way back to each other's hearts. The sound of rain began to patter against the windows, an urgent reminder of the storm outside. Each drop seemed to echo their fears and hopes, their dreams splashing against the glass like an unfinished story waiting to be told. Mark fidgeted, his fingers tapping nervously on his knees. Can we really do this? He asked, his voice trembling slightly. I mean, really? Sarah took a deep breath. She could see the uncertainty etched in his brow, the shadow of doubt creeping back into his eyes. We can. It might be scary, but we've already taken that first step. Emily, who had been doodling back on the family goals log, glanced up at her brother. What if we think about this like one of our games? We've played a million times, and the only way to get better is to jump in. Mark's lips curled into a small smile, the tension in his shoulders easing just a fraction. Yeah, but what if the game gets too hard? And what if it doesn't? Sarah interjected, a hint of mischief in her voice. What if it was the best game we ever played? We won't know unless we try. The words hung in the air, a gentle challenge, coaxing both children to imagine a world beyond their fears. Sarah could feel something shifting, a small flicker of hope igniting within them. Okay, I'll bite, Mark said, a sparkle in his eye. Let us at least promise to try to make things fun. He kicked his feet jokingly, as if they were already poised to leap into an adventure. Emily laughed. And if it goes wrong, we can throw a fit, just like our pancake fight. Her giggles bubbled over, and the room seemed to brighten just a touch. Deal. Mark chimed in, his anxiety dialing back even lower. Feeling the atmosphere lighten, Sarah watched her children come together again. Let us think of one small thing we can do this week to challenge ourselves, she proposed. Trying it together will make it easier. Mark tapped his chin thoughtfully. How about we cook dinner? I want to try making tacos. Can I help? Emily chimed in excitedly, bouncing in her seat. Maybe we can try a new recipe. Great idea. We can even mix up the toppings to make it fun, Sarah added, her heart swelling. The thought of a happy family meal filled with laughter was almost enough to chase away the storm outside. Mark nodded, the worry lines on his face slowly disappearing. Okay, but I get to pick the music. As they plotted out the details, Sarah marveled at how quickly the mood had shifted. Before, they had been lost in shadows of doubt, but now they were lighting up with possibilities. Just then, another loud crack of thunder ricocheted around them, but this time, instead of fear, Sarah felt a surge of power in the air. The storm mirrored their resolve. Even amidst the chaos, they had found a way to come together, transforming uncertainty into excitement. But would they manage to keep the momentum going? The rain lashed against the windows, insisting on being heard. As Sarah held on to that question, what awaited them on this journey they had so courageously embarked on? Would they overcome the hurdles, or would their best intentions tumble into the storm once more? The kitchen was alive with the sound of sizzling as Mark mastered the art of taco making. He danced around the countertop, holding a spatula like a microphone, belting out tunes that made Emily giggle. The vibrant colors of fresh vegetables and spices filled the room with an inviting aroma. It was nothing short of chaos, but it was their chaos full of laughter, mistakes, and the delightful mess that came with it. Sarah watched on, her heart warming at the sight of her children together. Emily had perched herself on a chair, eagerly passing toppings to Mark while trying to keep the guacamole from spilling. Watch out! She squealed, her eyes wide as Mark almost dropped a tortilla. Don't worry. I've got it. He replied, catching it just in time. The proud grin on his face made Sarah chuckle. Okay, little chef, as fun as this is, we're missing one key ingredient. Sarah raised a finger, trying to contain her urge to rush. Teamwork. Let us all make our own tacos. A sense of excitement spread through them like wildfire. They gathered around the table full of ingredients, with Emily sorting through a rainbow of toppings. They all began assembling their creations, the kitchen buzzing with shared ideas and laughter. Mine is going to be the biggest, Emily declared, piling on layer after layer. Just as she triumphantly placed the last piece, it tumbled over, landing in a vibrant splash of colors on the table. Oops. Mark burst into laughter. Looks like you've got a taco volcano. Emily pouted for a moment before joining in the laughter. You're right. Maybe it's an experimental taco. Sarah's heart soared. Watching them spar and play was a reminder of how bonding moments were sewn into the fabric of their lives. It wasn't just about food, it was about creating memories, building a foundation that could withstand any storm. Suddenly, the power flickered, and the lights dimmed. A flash of lightning illuminated the kitchen, followed by a roll of thunder that rattled the windows. Tension gripped the air for a heartbeat. Do we have to turn off the stove? Mark asked, his voice a mix of excitement and concern. No way. We're not letting a little thunder stop us, Sarah announced, trying to project her steadiness. We have each other, and that's what counts. Yeah. Emily chimed in, pumping her fist in the air. Bring it on. The storm outside roared, but it only fueled their resolve. They turned up the music, filling the kitchen with the upbeat rhythm of their favorite band. They sang and stirred, carrying on as the rain hammered down like an anvil. With each taco they made, they also began uncovering stories from their day. Mark shared a funny moment from school, while Emily talked about a new friend she made at recess. In those moments, as storm clouds swirled outside, they weathered their own little tempest of laughter and connection. As they settled down to enjoy their creations, the first bite sent them into a chorus of delight. Best tacos ever, Mark proclaimed, and Emily nodded vigorously, her mouth full. But just as they basked in this victory, Sarah felt a shift. Something unspoken lingered in the air. It was a tingle of possibility, whispering that the real adventure had yet to begin. What other challenges awaited them? Would the safety of their home hold strong against whatever came next? The storm raged on outside, but within the walls, they found strength in each other. As they cleaned up the remnants of their taco night, Sarah's thoughts spiraled. Before the week was out, they needed to tackle another challenge. What would they face next? The thought lingered, electrifying the air with anticipation. The rain continued to pour down relentlessly, drumming against the windows, but inside their kitchen, an air of contentment enveloped them. Emily was now busy trying to create a treasure map with remnants of taco shells, while Mark helped her, crafting a makeshift pirate flag from a paper towel. X marks the spot, Mark exclaimed, waving the flag triumphantly. Emily's giggles filled the kitchen, and Sarah couldn't help but smile at their contagious joy. Yet, as much as she wanted to get lost in the moment, her thoughts kept tugging at her. A new challenge loomed ahead, and she couldn't shake the feeling that life was about to throw them a curveball. Just then, the lights flickered back on, bathing the kitchen in a warm glow. The children momentarily paused their play, momentarily distracted by the change in atmosphere. Time for cleanup duties, Sarah announced, lifting the sound of laughter back into the air. As the three of them began to tidy up, sharing silly stories about pirates and hidden treasures, Sarah's phone buzzed on the countertop. She caught a glimpse of a message from Sam, her best friend. "Have you seen the news? There's talk about a big storm heading our way. They say it could cause serious flooding. Just wanted to check in." Her heart sank slightly as she processed the words. The storm they had just weathered was nothing compared to what was on the horizon. "Mark, do you think we should check the weather?" she asked, trying to mask her concern. Okay?" he replied, a hint of confusion in his voice. Emily piped up, "Are we going to be pirates in a flood?" At that, Sarah felt a swell of determination. "We can face anything together, right? We're a team." She directed the kids toward the living room, where they all squeezed onto the couch, engrossed in the weather report flashing across the screen. The newscaster's voice was serious. "We are expecting severe weather conditions tonight, with potential flash flooding in the area. Residents are advised to prepare. We urge everyone to stay indoors and stay safe." Fear coiled in Sarah's stomach, but she forced a smile for her kids. "Looks like we'll have our own little adventure tonight," she said, trying to sound upbeat. "Let us make a plan. We can gather flashlights, snacks, and our favorite games. What do you think?" "Yeah. We can have a flashlight dance party," Emily chirped, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Mark grinned, understanding the instinct to create joy in uncertain times. "And ghost stories," he added, bouncing in his seat. The laughter bubbled up again, even brighter this time, eclipsing Sarah's rising anxiety. They sprang into action, gathering supplies, filling the pantry with treats, and collecting lanterns as the wind howled ominously outside. But in the back of her mind, Sarah couldn't shake the worry for what lay ahead. Was her plan enough? Would they be safe? As she watched Emily and Mark scurry around, she realized that sometimes the scariest storms could lead to the brightest memories. They just needed to hold on tight to one another. The mood lightened with each giggle and every spinning flashlight, but there was still an unspoken current vibrating in the room, a sense of impending destiny. Sarah took a deep breath, casting an eye toward the window. They weren't just facing a storm, they were diving into the unknown. Would they adapt and come out the other side stronger? Just then, the power flickered again, and a loud crack of thunder made the house tremble. Emily scooted closer to Mark, eyes wide with excitement and a tinge of fear. "Mom, are we going to be okay?" Emily asked, her small voice breaking through the tension. Sliding closer, Sarah wrapped her arms around them both, feeling the warmth and love between them. "Absolutely. We've got each other, we've got this." Yet her heart raced, knowing the real test was still to come. Outside, the storm was intensifying. Would their bond hold? Would they emerge not just unscathed, but transformed? The winds howled louder, like an impatient beast at their door, and somewhere deep down, she wondered if they were ready for what awaited them. The floor creaked under their excited little feet as Emily and Mark scurried around, collecting their stash of games and snacks from different corners of the house. The sound of the rain pounding against the windows couldn't drown out their giggles. With every flash of lightning, they squealed in delight rather than fear, and for a moment, Sarah's heart swelled with pride. This was their little sanctuary amidst the chaos outside. "Okay, we need to make a plan," Sarah said, her voice firm but friendly. "How about we start with our dance party first? Let us get the energy going." "Yeah." The kids echoed, and Sarah led them to the living room, where the blanket fort they built earlier still stood proudly. She didn't even notice the window rattling or the shadows dancing on the walls. Their laughter filled the room, and as she fiddled with the radio, a fun, upbeat song started playing. They began to sway, moving in sync with the rhythm, but as the wind screamed louder, Sarah's heart thudded in her chest. The reports clearly echoed in her mind: significant flooding could become a reality. It felt surreal, as if the power of the storm could reach through the walls and snatch away their happiness. Mark bumped into Emily as they twirled, and they fell into a heap of giggles. "Let us pretend we're in a pirate ship," he shouted, grinning from ear to ear. "R. Captain Emily on deck," she replied, scrambling to her feet and waving her taco shell treasure map like a sword. "Watch out for the stormy seas," Mark teased, using a pillow as a shield. For a fleeting moment, they were not just children in a dimly lit room, they were adventurers braving high tides and fierce winds. Sarah couldn't help but be swept away by their energy. Suddenly, the power flickered once again, each time dimming just a little more. "I'll get the candles," Sarah announced, feigning courage. "We'll make it cozy." As she dashed to the pantry, she noticed something strange outside. Shadows shifted and danced in the heavy rain. Her breath caught in her throat. "Hey, guys, come look at this," she called out, urgency creeping into her tone. Emily and Mark abandoned their game and rushed to her side. 5 minutes later, they stood together at the window. Their eyes went wide. Water, dark and swift, rushed through the yard, enveloping anything it could touch. It was creeping closer, the danger now tangible. "Mom, is it going to come inside?" Mark asked, his voice small but steady. "I don't know," Sarah murmured, fighting the panic rising in her throat. "But we will be okay. We're safe in here." Just then, the power completely went out, plunging them into darkness. The flashlights were in the other room. But before she could speak, Emily grabbed her hand. "Let us get in our blanket fort," the little girl shouted, her fear breaking through the bravery she had shown earlier. "Good idea," Sarah agreed, guiding them both away from the window, pulling them close in their makeshift shelter surrounded by plush toys and cushions. They huddled together, 3 tiny hearts beating in unison against the outside chaos. As they nestled in tight, the first crash of thunder rattled the windows. Mark clutched Emily's arm, and Sarah held them both against her chest, a fortress of love. A chill swept through the air, and with it came Sarah's unsettling thoughts. What if their little adventure turned into something far more dangerous? Could they weather this storm together, or was something more serious waiting just beyond their protective walls? In the depths of the darkness and doubt, she knew she had to find her own strength to keep fear at bay. "Let us tell stories," she suggested. "How about a pirate adventure?" "Okay," Mark said, his enthusiasm returning. Gathering her thoughts, Sarah began weaving a tale of a swashbuckling heroine who faced treacherous waters, all the while hoping that their own tale would remain on safer shores. But outside, the storm continued its ferocious descent, and with each bolt of lightning, she wondered how deep the real storm waters would rise. Would they be able to hold tight to each other amidst the rolling waves of uncertainty? As the wind shrieked, she dared to whisper, "What if the treasure is finding our way home?" The world around them was swallowed by darkness, save for the flickers of lightning illuminating the room, casting fleeting shadows that danced like phantoms on the walls. Inside the fort, everything felt safe, cocooned in blankets and love that shielded them from the raging storm outside. Sarah cleared her throat, rallying the courage she hoped would seep into her children. "So, our brave pirate has sailed to the enchanted island," she began, her voice steady despite the thunder's growl. Mark leaned closer, eyes wide with wonder. "And what does she find there?" "She finds treasure guarded by a giant, scary sea monster," Sarah continued, weaving each word with purpose, "but she has a secret weapon, a special song that soothes the beast. Emily clapped her hands, her fear momentarily forgotten. "What's the song?" "It's a magic lullaby," Sarah said, a smile tugging at her lips. "It's all about friendship and courage, and it goes like this." As she began to hum a melody, the atmosphere shifted. Outside, the wind howled like a wild beast, but within their tiny sanctuary, feelings of doubt and fear began to melt away under the warmth of their shared laughter. Mark, with a twinkle in his eye, chimed in, "And then the pirate shares her snacks with the monster. Everyone loves tacos." Their laughter erupted like firecrackers, filling the cozy space with lightness. But just as quickly, it was snatched away, silenced by a loud crash from outside. It felt closer this time. "Mom?" Mark's voice was small again, echoing the tension of the moment. "It's just the wind, Bud," Sarah reassured, though her heart raced. She took a deep breath, reminding herself they were together. They were safe. "Maybe," Emily suggested with bright eyes, "we can turn the monster into a friend. When we show him how to dance, he'll forget he was scary." "That's brilliant." Sarah beamed, inspired by her children's resilience. "So the pirate and the monster have a dancing party. But they need a treasure map to find the dance floor." "Where is the treasure map?" Mark asked, his excitement contagious. "It's hidden under the big, sparkling rock on the shore," she replied, her voice becoming more animated. "When they find it, they learn that the real treasure is all about having fun and sticking together." The tension in the air began to dissipate, replaced by the warmth of the bond they were strengthening. They crafted the imaginative adventure, improvising together as they navigated stormy seas and befriended every monster that lurked. But as their story unfolded, the storm outside began to shift, becoming more than just an ominous backdrop. The wind intensified, claiming a deeper roar. The rain tapped angrily against the roof as if demanding entry. Just then, a loud crack of thunder shook the entire house, and the lights flickered back on, briefly bathed in pale, eerie light. "Mom, what's happening?" Mark called out again, and Sarah felt the smile slip from her lips, grabbing tightly onto both of her children. "Let's stay close," she urged firmly, heart racing, as she felt the surge of uncertainty roll in, threatening to blur the line between their magical adventure and the reality of the storm. Then, suddenly, the house shook with an unfamiliar severity. "Do you feel that?" Emily whispered, eyes wide with fear. Before Sarah could answer, the lights went out again, leaving them in a deep void, their breaths quickening in the silence that followed. What if the storm wants to take our treasure?" Mark's voice quivered. "Then we'll take our treasure back," Sarah declared, wrapping her arms tighter around them. But as an odd thumping noise resonated outside, their pirate adventure suddenly felt less like a game and more like an impending quest. "Stay close," she whispered, "and whatever happens, I promise we're in this together." The shadows of uncertainty loomed large, and with every heartbeat, they fought to find a sense of calm amidst the chaos raging beyond their walls. Just as Sarah opened her mouth to speak again, a crack louder than any thunder filled the air, shaking the ground beneath them. In that moment, Sarah dared to ask, "What if our adventure has only just begun?" The air crackled with tension as the storm intensified outside, but in their blanket fort, a bubble of warmth surrounded Sarah and her children. The sounds of nature's fury were eclipsed by the steadfast beating of their hearts. They were together, and that meant everything. Mark's hand trembled in Sarah's grasp. "Mom, what if?" Before he could finish, another loud crash echoed outside, sending a chill slithering down Sarah's spine. She pressed her lips together. "Let us deepen our pirate adventure." What would our brave heroine do now? "Fight the storm," Emily declared, her voice rising with determination. "And find the monster who is afraid." "Yes." Sarah embraced the narrative. "But they need each other to create a magic shield, one made of hope and courage." Mark perked up. "And they can fill it with all their memories. Like taco nights and dance parties." "Exactly." Sarah beamed at her children. Everything they had been through, the tension, the laughter, the growing awareness of what it meant to be a family, all anchored them. "Let us imagine it is the storm that is afraid, and our tales and laughter can guide it home." As they wove their story, they lost track of the storm outside. With every shared joke and memory, the laughter around them turned into a shield that felt impenetrable. But still, the reality of the weather remained, gnawing at the back of their minds like an uninvited guest. Suddenly, the shelter seemed to shift slightly, and with it came the realization that the storm outside was growing serious. "All right, pirates," Sarah said, steadying herself. "What's our battle plan if things get any worse?" "We find the treasure," Emily exclaimed. Mark nodded. "And protect each other. Then let us gather the essentials: our snacks, our flashlights, and our blanket close at hand. We'll even add some cheerful music to lift our spirits," Sarah said, her heart pounding with both pride and fear. Her children could sense the urgency, and they hustled to prepare for anything. As they pulled everything together, Sarah could feel their connection tightening like a rope that couldn't be frayed. Fear flickered but didn't take hold. When they finished, they take a moment to breathe, looking at each other with the resolve that they would weather this storm, and then came another loud crash, and the lights went dark once more. The children huddled closer, but Sarah took a steadying breath. "It's okay. We can handle this," she said, her tone mixed with authority and warmth. "Remember, we're a team." In that moment of vulnerability, her phone buzzed again. "Time to check the news," she suggested. They held their breath as she turned it on to see the emergency response team flashing across the screen. "Stay indoors," they warned. "Secure your homes." "What does that mean?" Mark asked, eyes wide with worry. "It means we have to be smart and make sure everything in our fort is safe," Sarah said. "And maybe we need to check on our neighbors, too. Like real pirates who look out for each other," Emily shouted, her eyes sparkling with inspiration. "Yes. Always." Sarah smiled, feeling that warmth radiating once more. Her children were drawing strength from this shared challenge, not allowing fear to snatch away their bravery. Yet, just as they rallied, a powerful gust swept through the house. The fort trembled slightly under the force. It reminded them of the intensity outside. The danger was real. "Okay, everyone," Sarah exclaimed, "let us keep our focus. We might need to pack up soon, just in case." The storm raged, the rain saturating the ground, pooling outside. And yet they found joy in the act of preparing for whatever came next. Just like our pirate story. If the waves get too high, we grab our sails and find a new place, Mark recalled, grabbing a pillow as if it were a sword. "Ready, Captain?" "Ready," Emily mimicked, laughter bubbling beneath her words. As they finished, Sarah caught a glimpse of hope flickering in her children's eyes. In a time that requested resilience, they had banded together, dueling doubts and fears with laughter and unity. This wasn't just about weathering the storm. Outside, it was about navigating life together, confident they could find the light even amidst uncertainty. "We are safe here, together," she reminded them again, her voice steady. "Through the storm and beyond, we make our own adventures. Always." Just then, thunder crashed louder than ever, but instead of fear, the strength of that moment surged through them. They weren't merely hunkered down in a storm, they were a family growing closer while challenges loomed. "Promise?" Emily whispered. Sarah hugged them tight, feeling the pulse of reassurance flow among them. "Always. Together, we got this." So as they nestled together, laughter swirled in the air, carving a pathway through the darkness. And through the tempest, Sarah knew they would emerge not just intact but transformed, ready to write the next chapter of their lives with every family member playing an integral part amidst the raging storm. They had become heroes of their own story. You need to subscribe now, before you miss the next exclusive journey that'll inspire you even further. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm so we can keep bringing you heartwarming tales. Comment below with how you felt about the ending. I want to hear your reflections. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need a boost of inspiration in their lives. Your support matters, don't underestimate that.